to order. It's what, 6:17? And we'll do a roll call of commissioners. Paul St. Amand?
Paul St. Amand?
Yes. Roll call.
Yep.
Okay, Travis Bamford
Yes.
is absent. Maureen Buffy,
Here.
Erin Brewer,
Brewster, here.
and Anna Sumpico. And Norma Smith. We have John Studley here, who's representing planning tonight. So welcome, John, and Michelle, who has been with us since the beginning, I guess, as our recorder, minute maker, and whatever. So anyway, I'd like to welcome the new people. It's nice to have a full commission once again. It's been a little bit of a while. And it's nice to have a meeting again, because that has been a while as well. So welcome all of you. You can't see Paul, but Paul's been on for a few years, and I've been on since the beginning. So what I wanted to do originally was recap what we've done in the past few years, but something has come up that I have put at the top of the list, which is the Arkwright Bridge. We've spoken about that over a period of time because it's due to be replaced. Do you know which bridge is the Arkwright Bridge? Erin doesn't. Erin doesn't. It's the also the Hill Street Bridge. It's over in the Harris Arkwright section of town. Do you know where that is? Erin?
Sorry, I'm not very familiar with Coventry yet. I'm actually, this will be our third year here.
Okay.
So sometimes when people mention street names, they're not familiar to me.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because the others obviously know. But it's in the northeast corner of town. It's where Situate, Cranston, and West Warwick all come together. It's an old bridge. It's 130 years old. I didn't write the information down, but I can send that to you. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. It's one of the last bridges of its type in the state. There were others, but they, especially in that area of the town, but they're gone now. So there's this one bridge left. And it was condemned, I guess you call it, by DOT a few years back, because it couldn't carry the weight of the vehicles. So it's coming up for demolition, or to be replaced, I should say, within the next few years. And if we would like to see it moved. Apparently there is some money involved, set aside for this bridge in the project, but I don't know how much. But what we would need to do is have it disassembled, moved, restored, and relocated. It cannot stay where it is right now, because they're going to rebuild that whole structure because of the flood. I think in 2010, I think it did a lot of damage to the stonework and whatever. So that what they are looking for from us, and the Historical Society has already spoken out about it, is that they want to know who the stakeholders are to preserve it. They want to see it preserved, but DOT can't just decide that. We have to come forth and say, we're interested in this. We want to see that it's moved. Like I said, the Historical Society has already shown interest. I think, in my opinion, the town should be a stakeholder in this preservation of the bridge. And that leaves it, I think, with us as a preservation commission. So what they're looking for us to do is to have a meeting and with people and try to build a core group of interested parties to show that we're interested in saving this bridge. Any questions?
How are we going to go about trying to find an appropriate place to put this?
It can be anywhere. We either keep it within our town. Something else that you should know is that part of the bridge is also in the city of Cranston, so it's a partially owned bridge. It does not have to go over a river. You just have to find a location for it. For me, I think a good solution is downriver from its location now, below the Harris Dam. One side of the river is owned by the town, the other side of the river is owned by the River Authority. So it's not like we would have to buy property to put this bridge on. It's also a narrower span of river, which means that most of the bridge would be on land versus over water, which gives it more support. We would have to have an engineer go and look at that site. We should also have some other ideas of location, excuse me, in case that doesn't work. I'm thinking,
Right, so,
yeah, I'm just thinking if it goes on a town property, we don't have to buy property to put it on. Yes, Erin?
Yeah.
I have a question. So you said that we have to show interest in saving the bridge. What is that? Is that just a formal letter that says, yes, we'd like to preserve it?
It's more than a letter. They're encouraging us to seek out others from the community. It's not just us, but the town should show an interest in it. And I think, like I said, I think that's us as far as a town commission, what should do. But we'd have to also talk to the town council before we do that. But it can be done without town participation, just by interested historians. It's just, they want us to have a meeting, a Zoom meeting, or if we have an in-person meeting at some point in time. They're waiting for us to see if we're going to step up as a stakeholder. If nobody speaks up, the bridge will be dismantled and carried away, and more than likely put somewhere else in the state or in the country. It's going to go somewhere. It just won't be here. So we have to show an interest, not just this small group of us, but there are a lot of interested people in not just Coventry, also West Warwick and Cranston, because that's where the bridge is located, in this Patuxent Valley, excuse me, river area. It's more than just Coventry. So they're waiting for the stakeholders to speak up. As of now, only the Coventry Historical Society has spoken up. And they're kind of waiting for us to see what we're going to do. So I would think that what we need to do is make some sort of proposal to the town council. And I don't want to keep putting this off, because the longer we wait, the shorter the span that they take the bridge down.
okay.
Anything else? So I guess what I'm asking is, do you want to go bring this to the councils for permission to go forward to preserve this particular bridge? If you want to see it, Erin, I'll bring you to look at it at some point in time.
Yeah, I'll look it up on Google Maps and take a drive over.
Yeah, it is on the National Register of Historic Places, so you can get the history of it online.
Okay. Norm, a question for you. I know,
Yep.
since I can't see any of you,
Right.
do we have to make a motion? Do we have to make a motion to make this something that you present to the council? Like we did when we met in person? How do we do this?
I would think it should be a motion that we present this before council.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that we put this before the town council in an effort to preserve this bridge.
Right, right. Do I have a second or any more questions?
I'll second it.
No. I just have a comment. I think if we as individuals just need to kind of think about where, some, besides what your suggestion, which
Right.
I kind of know where you mean, which I'd like to see, but, for all of us to think about a good place that it might go as an alternate,
Right, you
for
should
this
have more than
once we get
Rhode
into
Island-
it.
Rhode Island Preservation Commission said that we should have more than one location in mind, because one might
Right.
not work. We need more than one in
And-
mind.
And here's my thought anyway on it, is that just that it kind of needs to be somewhere where there's plenty of foot traffic for it to be
Right.
effective and to be
Right.
seen. And someone, not me, had made a suggestion, I don't remember who it was, about looking at down near the Nathaniel Green Homestead part of
Right.
the Greenway and something too. And again, I don't know that that's appropriate at all for how it would be done or anything, but it just struck me as, yeah, that's a well-used part of the Greenway,
Right,
as is the area, anywhere from Town Hall on up and around there. But that's my observation, is just that it really should be somewhere where it's a well-used part of the Greenway. Otherwise, it's just going to sit there and be unseen, and people aren't going to want to be involved in taking care of it or doing, like you've shown us in other meetings with the Flower Bridge and
Mhm.
things like that make it, an important part of the whole thing.
well, it depends on volunteers, not just to move it and
Yeah.
preserve it, but to
Yeah.
maintain it once it's
Oh,
done.
I know.
And the reason why I
agree.
was thinking below the Harris Dam is because it's over by the Harris Mill. And it would connect that side of the river to the River Authority walkway on the other side of the river. No one would be able to swim over it, under it, off of it, down that, because the river's not
I got it.
deep enough
Yeah.
to swim off of. People could maybe fish off of it, but not swim off of it. And it may not even be a wide enough section of river. I don't know. Or it could just be a portion of the bridge. But I think we need to look at more than one location. Now, the area you're looking at, if you go above the river, that's where it's widest. So we have to take the consideration of the width. And there again, it's all privately owned property.
Yeah, that's true. So all of that has to be considered. I
And
understand.
Yeah, and if you put it below the dam at Nathaniel Green Homestead, the other side of the river is the chemical plant.
That's true.
So I don't know how practical
But-
that would be. I don't know if you would want people crossing over there.
They probably wouldn't, but again, like I said, I'd have to walk that over there and look at
Right.
it and just like look, we all would, but someone had just brought that up somewhere along the line a couple months ago, and
Right.
I thought
yeah.
it was worth just walking over there and taking a
Right.
look and see, especially since we know that it doesn't have to go over the river. It can be used as
It can go
in another way.
It
yeah.
can go anywhere. That's why we need to
Yeah.
look for more than one potential spot for it. And who's to know, Cranston might decide they want it. I don't know. I haven't heard anything from Cranston.
Well, they probably are not interested, but with our luck, as soon as we showed some interest, they might want to.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it could even go to West Warwick, I suppose, if they had a site.
Yeah.
Because it's from the local area.
That's true.
I mean, I'd like to
Right,
see it stay in Coventry, but it's about practicalities too.
Yep.
I don't want to see it out in the Midwest somewhere either. Does anyone else have anything they want to say?
And Norma,
Hi, I have a question. I'm new to this. So we're going to the town council to, I guess, get permission to pursue saving the bridge and keeping it in Coventry? Is that, so
Yes.
we're seeking permission. What do we have to present or prepare to go do that? Or do we just
There
get
has
on the
been,
agenda and have a discussion?
well, I guess a couple years ago now, there was a presentation by a student from Roger Williams University. She did this bridge as her master's thesis about restoration and whatever. And she did a presentation to us. Well, shortly after the presentation, she went home. She lives in Seattle, so she's not here to do the presentation, but I still have the presentation. I'm not an engineer, I can't explain it, but we did do a presentation before that council at that time about the potential for the bridge. We could do that again as to why we should be a stakeholder. One of the things we suggested about it was there are other areas in New England across the country that have taken their old bridges and have turned them into flower bridges or something else, and they become tourist attractions. You know, there's the potential of doing something like that. It's just not a matter of moving the bridge. I'm trying to think of the name of the city in Connecticut, Simsbury, I think it is. They have, well, it's not even the same kind of bridge, but it's a metal bridge, and they've turned it into a flower bridge, and they have enough volunteers and donations that people subscribe, and they put the flowers in, and they have the volunteers. But that was in that presentation as well. It's a matter of building a base that would be interested in maintaining it once it's moved, whatever we do. I mean, it doesn't have to be a flower bridge, that's a lot of work. But just to put it somewhere along the bike path somehow, you know, you can't, I've been trying to think of a place across the bike path that it could go at the length of the bike path. But then again, it doesn't have to be over water. It could just be installed as part of the bike path. But it's a matter of, do we spend the energy on the project without the support of the council? I don't think that's a good idea. So right now I would just
I agree.
I would just want to, I guess what I'm proposing is that we do some sort of presentation to the council where they would say, yes, the town wants to be a stakeholder, and then we go from there. I mean, even the other groups, if they do this, they're still going to have to go to council at some point in time, as if you're going to put it on town property, unless you find a private property that wants it. Maureen, you wanted to say something?
No, I was just thinking, have you shared any of this information with the Patuxent Valley Preservation and Historical Society?
Yep, they know about it.
Do they have any interest in the?
They do, but they're waiting for this meeting. And like I say, the smaller groups, they're interested, the community groups, but it's whether or not there is a municipal participation as a stakeholder. You know, I've been waiting for our meetings to start to bring this up, because this is all sort of transpired over the last 6 weeks, that it's on the schedule to be, something's going to happen to it. Right now, they're in the position, they do mitigation between the Rhode Island Preservation and DOT. So they're mitigating what's going to happen to this bridge. If no one speaks up, it's just going to go somewhere and we won't know where it goes. I'm assuming, unless we ask. Excuse me. So, anything else? It's been, the motion's been made and seconded. Do we want, we'll take a vote? Or are there any more questions?
Yep.
So, okay, well, so we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I can vote.
You can, because Travis is not here.
Okay, aye.
Okay, Erin?
Aye.
So it's unanimous that we present this before the council, as far as the town being a stakeholder, saving the Arkwright Bridge, or preserving, I shouldn't say saving, preserving the Arkwright Bridge in a possible location within the town. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So, the only reason why I put that first is because it's happening soon, so. The updates that I have here is that the pink granite, about 30 years ago, URI came to town and did a study on the Anthony Village. Do you know Anthony, Erin? It's where the Anthony Mill is. Do you know where the Anthony Mill is? It's all residential now. The big mill right here in 117. That one. Okay, that's the Anthony Mill. When that all started, it was still the mill at the time. URI came here and they did a student project on the Anthony Village, and they did the research, and that's where it started, where they wanted to make Anthony a historic district, which it is now. Part of that was the workman's house, and apparently there was importance with the workman's house because it wasn't a mill house, it was a workman's house. It was built as one of the first buildings for people who came to work here. Then afterwards, they started building the mill houses for the families and whatever. It was supposed to be made into a museum, which it took too long and it never did, and they tore it down, I think, a couple of years ago. But one of the things of significance that they talked about with the workman's house was this pink granite in the foundation. A lot of the house had already been changed over the years, so a lot of its originality wasn't there, but there was this pink granite. So we requested, Sandy Lukowitz at the time was president of the commission, and I was, I think, not president, chair, and I was co-chair. We suggested that the town keep the pink granite to be used for another purpose at some point in time. We were talking about where the gazebo is, making that a garden area, and the pink granite would be benches. I mean, we talked about a few things. Well, nothing's happened with the pink granite. It's sitting at DPW as far as I know. And we need to decide, or we don't need to decide it tonight, but we need to start thinking about what we're going to do with this pink granite, where it's going to go within the town. We thought we would do like a little plaque saying that it came from the workman's house with a little bit of that history somewhere within the town. There again, we need to find a location. It didn't go in by the gazebo, but we need to find a location for that and what we're going to do with that. Any questions on pink granite? We've been talking about this for a long time, so. As buildings are coming down in town, we like to try to salvage something from them. If we can't have the building, is there something we can take away from the building that can be repurposed somewhere with the town for historic preservation? That house is gone, but we have its granite.
So you mentioned the original intent was to do something near the gazebo, and that's not an option anymore?
That did not happen because at the time, it would have been, that little chunk of property is under Parks and Recreation. And the director did not want that because she thought it would be too time consuming to maintain for Parks and Rec. She suggested another place along the bike path by Town Hall, but we've got, I think, 9 pieces of granite. The place she has suggested wouldn't take 9 pieces of granite, but I mean, we could put it in different places. I just thought, it should have some sort of like little plaque on it as to where this comes from. It's just not a rock.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Norma, I think at one point we should have either pictures or someone to just take measurements of the sizes of the granite that are there so we know what they are. And at one point they didn't want to let us back there. So I don't know if that's changed or I'll gladly go up and do that but we've got to get their permission to do it. And remember, I do remember basically they said they didn't want us to go in there for some reason. So
I think probably for safety reasons, I don't know. Maybe a
Yep.
truck
can,
Well,
I
Russ,
mean, can you ask the question or I
I
can,
will.
I mean, I don't mind stopping up there.
Yeah.
And,
I have
and
no
doing
idea
that,
where it is,
so,
and I've never seen it.
yep,
I've never seen it, so
Yep.
just all I know is that it's
So
back
that-
there.
I just defer to you, because as the chairman, I guess,
Yep,
you know, it
okay.
really is proper that you be the one that asks first, but anyway,
Okay,
okay?
yep, I will.
Okay,
if we
because
know
then,
it-
I mean, once we know what the sizes and different things are,
If we don't know
we
what we can do with
can
it,
give it a little more thought about
Right.
where it could go and,
right?
you know, and do that.
I mean,
Okay.
Coventry's a big town. It seems to me it could go somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be used in more than one place, for sure.
Erin?
Yeah, if whoever gets the measurements for that could also maybe take some pictures.
Yeah.
For that, right?
Oh,
Uh,
yeah,
We're not gonna be, I'm not
I
gonna be
would-
able
I
to
would
go
take
see what it
pictures.
looks like, but
Yeah.
I guess I'd like to see what they look like.
Well, yeah, it's, you know, it's got flecks of pink and it's granite, but it's got like flecks of pink.
Yeah, I guess if they're
Oh.
already gonna go back there and measure it, they can just snap a couple photos. It also
Yeah.
might help if we're gonna build like a presentation to kind of present to somebody, say, hey, we wanna put
Yeah.
these pieces in these following locations, and then we can show them images of what the actual
Right.
grant looks like.
Okay. Making notes because I won't remember. The next thing that we had spoken about over the years and we were getting ready to do, but then COVID hit, we was going to do this last year, is a house plaque program where people that have historic houses, you know, you buy those plaques that say circa this year, that year, whatever. And Paul St. Amand had looked into that at the time. He had found some companies that could make the plaques, but we never went beyond that. What we would have people do is we have to make up a form for people to fill out and they would have to buy their plaque for their house. You know, it would be something that people with history and historical interest would be the ones that would want the plaques, obviously. We had talked about that, but like I said, we never really got far with it because it's been a year since we've met. So, you want to talk about that, Paul? Because you're the one that looked up about the signs.
Well, yes, and the person or business that I went to is right here in Coventry, and that's one of the reasons I went to them. But you know, they gave us prices on doing a few different types of the signs that are just basic classic, you know, year signs that show what year circa the house has been built. And I mean, I don't have the information right in front of me. I have it in the computer. I just have to look it back up and do that. But you know, we talked about having some kind of program where people could do that with it. And I'm not, again, have to revisit it at this point, but I'm not sure how everyone feels about how to go about doing it, because the cost was approximately, let's say, about $140 a sign. So,
Yep. Mhm.
You know, how we probably, again, Facebook is a great way of promoting these things. I know that you've been putting things on there for the Harris Bridge even that I see. So, you know, that would be one way of doing it and trying to generate some interest in that. So,
I know PV does it,
Anyway.
Patuxent Valley Historical does it.
yes.
We could maybe look at how they do it and maybe talk about this at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Gather-
I can ask
gather
them. I
our-
mean, I'm over there regularly now. So,
Yeah, gather our
Anyway.
information and talk about it more at the next meeting when we have a better understanding of
Yep.
it. Because like I say, we haven't
yeah,
talked
I'll
in a while.
I have to talk to Jerry Tellier sometime in the near future
Okay.
here within a few days. So
Yeah, okay,
I'll ask him about that.
okay, great.
Okay.
Any questions? No? Okay. Then the next thing we had talked about was historic signage for the villages, because a lot of people don't know about the villages and the importance of them in this town, in the town. you know, Anthony is, I guess, the biggest one, but when you talk about Harris, Erin didn't know what I meant, and Washington is down the road. And so if we had some sort of historic signage of the villages, not a lot, it doesn't have to be lengthy, just, you know, this is the village of Harris, established, blah, blah, blah. You know, just a little bit of information as people come around, or people that live here. That I did a presentation on the river about 3 years ago. And I talk villages. I mean, I grew up here. So does, you know, Paul talks villages. I grew up in Washington. Where is it you grew up, Paul? Paris?
Where did I grow up? I grew up in Phoenix.
Phoenix, yeah. So we
Phoenix,
talk
Harris.
villages. And when I was doing this at the presentation because of the river, because the villages are along the river, I had people come up to me afterwards saying, I've lived in town for so many years, and I never understand when people say, like I say, I'm from Washington. They don't understand that. So we thought that if we had some sort of signage at the villages, entering this village, you know, the year or whatever, then maybe there'd be a little bit of understanding from even the people that live here that don't know. And of course, if people come from somewhere else, they would see the signs as well. It's just something we had talked about, but we never really went that far with it.
I think a suggestion again on that idea. I think when we finally can meet in person and do this, which is hopefully real soon, but to identify the ones that we want to do like that, like Central Coventry, Green, you know,
Yep.
Harris, and so on.
Yep.
And
Well, if that, you know, we would have to designate which ones we want signs on. And there again, where do we put them? On town properties? I know they have properties scattered throughout, and I don't really know where they all are. They have little tiny properties that you could, you know, certainly something they can't sell that maybe we could put signs on, but then again, it's maintenance. We need volunteers for maintenance if we go forward with it. I mean, it's a lot to consider. Which, like, there again, we don't have to decide this tonight, but we can decide this when we meet again. It gives you some time to think about it. You know, the new people that haven't been listening to us talk about these same things for a long time. And is it practical to do? I think the house plaque thing is practical. The signage for villages I'd like to see, but I don't know how practical that is. But, you know, we can discuss that further at the next meeting if you have some time to think about it.
Norma, it's Ann.
Yes.
That's a really good idea because people, we're losing the history of the town and they don't understand where Green, Phoenix, Harris came from. And all our grandparents, great grandparents who worked in those mills and all the housing. So when I think the signage is important, and when you put it up, you put something on Facebook with a history, because people will enjoy it. But there's a lot of young people who have no idea, like you said.
Exactly.
And I think that's really important to do that. And I think a lot of people, that's a really good idea. And I think it'll hold that history that we need.
Okay. Well, like I said, we can discuss it more at the next meeting. You know, I'm just giving you a little bit of background of what we've been doing. Did you want to say something, Maureen?
No, actually, I was thinking
Oh, okay.
the signs the historical cemetery signs that we that you see all around the state.
Right.
Those are made by the Rhode Island DOT sign shop.
Okay. Oh.
And my understanding is I believe those are done on a grant that they get for doing informational type signs. So I wonder if there's a chance that because you see that I see other signs like that in other towns for villages, and I'm not sure if it's DOT that makes those up or not, but
It's worth looking at.
Yep.
It's worth looking at, yeah. Would you want to look into that for us, Maureen? Have you worked with them?
I could ask for I could ask for the a contact person at for the sign shop.
Okay, all right. So for both house plaques and village signs, we'll do some research and come back to that at the next meeting. Okay? Does that need to be a motion? I'm not that familiar with the rules. Oh, we'll table them. We'll table them to next meeting. We'll table them. The house plaque program and the historic signage for villages will table for next meeting. Okay,
Okay,
so everybody's all right with that? Okay. New business. I've got the Coventry Historical Society here because I've talked with Sandy and others of the society about us maybe working together to do a preservation. Coventry Historical Society is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. With their help, we can apply for grants that the town cannot apply for. Even Champlain grants, I was just told municipalities can't apply for a Champlain grant anymore. So with working with Coventry Historical Society and broadening our base with the community, we could work on things together, but yet we need to maintain to be separate in some areas. But we could work together on a lot of things, and of course, it's more people working on projects. We have to be sure we keep our separation, but yet we still can be partners in some of the projects that are coming forward over the next few years. Any questions? It doesn't change what we're doing. It doesn't change what they're doing. We're just going to be partnering in some projects. Okay, Erin?
Yeah, so this also came up when I was interviewing for I guess I'm confused. Why are there two? There are two Coventry preservation groups?
This Coventry Preservation Commission is a town agency. It was brought about maybe 8 years ago. I'm not sure the years. It was brought about because they have the local government program that towns can apply for grants. But in order to apply for grants, and they apply through the Rhode Island Heritage Preservation Commission. In order to do that, you have to have three things in place. You have to have a local district ordinance, you have to have a local district commission, and you have to have a local district. Well, at the time, the local district became Payne House and Fire Dispatch, which is over in Washington. That is the town's first local district. Once we had those things in place with the commission and the ordinance, we could apply for grants. We did get a grant for Reed School when Reed School was done a couple of years ago. That was through the commission applying for a grant, not the Historical Society. So it just gives you more opportunities to get funding for things, but the municipalities are limited with other grants that 501c3s can get. So I know a lot of municipal commissions throughout the state have what they call a parallel 501c3. That's very complicated or very involved to do. So if we can partner with, say, Coventry Historical Society, which is a private nonprofit, the two combined open up the doors for other funding without having to create a whole new nonprofit parallel entity. Any other questions? I mean, the time may come, we may partner with others. I don't know. I know PV's interested in Patuxent Valley Historical. Part of it is in Coventry. So, we could maybe even work with them as well, because the way Patuxent Valley is in their jurisdiction, It goes up to Washington, Anthony, Harris, and down into West Warwick. So they have an interest in some of what we do in Coventry as well. If we can bring societies together and work with us, there's power in numbers. You know, the commission is just a small group. The societies have members. So if we can work together, which is something that hasn't happened before, I just, in my opinion, I think it could only benefit us all because there's power in numbers. We would have the 501c3 that we could apply for grants for. We could use their 501c3 without having to create our own. Excuse me. Anything else? And we can talk about that further. I mean, this isn't something to vote on. It's just something that's been happening over the last few months. We haven't been meeting, but things have been going on behind the scenes, preparing for when we could meet again. And there were issues with, you know, other people had to leave the commission for personal reasons, whatever. But now that we have a commission again, and we can work with these other community groups, I don't see how we can just step aside. You know, we have to move forward with the projects, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think you're right, Norma.
Thank you. But it's just, you know, we have to reorganize and move forward. I mean, we've lost a year, but that doesn't mean we can't still move forward. It's just a year. I mean, it's been a difficult year, but it's just a year. We've got years ahead of us that we can accomplish some good things. Okay. The second thing on new business is location for preservation, work, storage, and display. We've been trying to find a place. We have some items that we have in our possession, not a lot. There were some items found at Parks and Rec in a closet of old documents and ledgers and all kinds of things. And we have the pink granite. And whatever we're collecting as we go forward, you know, they're talking about taking down the Byron Reed building. I'd like to take something away from that if possible. There's some ornate metal work on the smaller building. If we could take that and place that somewhere to view, and then you have the history of the Byron Reed building, and a place to work on these items, and a place to display them so people can see them. I mean, to collect stuff and then people can't see it, there's no point. But if we want to promote our history to just our own residents, they need to be able to see things. And Coventry Historical, here again, they have a lot of items in the old Summit Library. Those items need a new location because the roof is leaking and of course everything's getting damp. So we need a place that maybe we can combine our resources there again, work together, but keep our two groups separate. You know, there's some things that belong to the commission, there's things that belong to the Historical Society. But if we work together and we have a place that people can see the items, collecting things and just keeping them in a room I don't see the point in that. People need to be able to see what we have. If you're trying to promote history, you need to show what you have. So we've been talking with the interim town manager about finding a place. We looked at the teen center, but we didn't think that was a good idea because the parking in front is dangerous on 117. There isn't a lot of parking. Yeah, I've always lived on 117. 117 is not a safe road for pedestrians. I mean, as long as you're moving in a car, you stand a chance. I've seen people's car doors be taken off, and I've seen people hit over the years. So it just, in my opinion is that it wasn't practical just because of traffic. Now, Sandy came with us for the from the Historical Society, because there again, we're working jointly. with some of these things. We don't have a lot, they have more, but all of it needs some work for preservation purposes. I've talked to Roger Williams University about it possibly being a student project where they can help us digitize the items and preserve the items so that maybe we could do virtual presentations or whatever. I mean, everything's virtual these days. So we're still looking for that location. That's why that's on here. They had mentioned Oak Haven School, but apparently that's not a possibility. So we're still trying to work within the town to have a place.
Norma.
Yep.
Can I ask, what happened to the space in the front of the annex?
They're moving building in there, the building department in there. They have, I was told today there are other rooms they're looking at us to have in the annex, but I really don't know where those rooms are. Or how much space there is, I really don't know yet. When I know. It's just that what's happening with Coventry Historical, their things are getting damp. And that's not good for documents and books, and it's damp in there. So that needs to be taken out and found a new, find a new location for them. So it's like, we have a few items, ours are not damp, but they need preservation. There's a damp. They have a lot more photos than we have. Anything? Anybody want to say anything? I don't want to do all the talking. Anyway, that's what we're looking at right now, is just finding a new location for eventually people to be able to see. You know, we talk about the signs for the villages for people to know. They need to see what we are preserving also. There's an old railroad bridge still standing, the railroad sign still standing on Station Street, that, you know, we could take that down and put that somewhere for display. The post it's on is a railroad tie. I mean, these are all little things, but yet I think they're important things in trying to preserve our history. Then the third thing I have here is the State Historic Conference. Right just before we stopped meeting last year, I had looked into doing what's involved with a historic conference. Rhode Island Preservation Commission does a conference every year. They've got one coming up in April. They're doing it virtual because they have no choice, and it's Warwick. Well, we had talked about doing one for Coventry in maybe a couple of years. And what you do is they come, and like they have like 400 people that come, and they take them on bus tours or whatever. We would need to plan what would want to show people. If the Arkwright Bridge is standing somewhere, we can show them our bridge, things like that. But it brings people to town, and it's good for business and whatever, to draw people to the town and to show our history. We need to share our history with others, with our own residents, but with others in the state as well. So there's a possibility of doing that in a couple years. There again, you have to go to the council and ask if that's an okay thing to do. But I don't know if any of you have ever been to one of those conferences. I know, have you, Maureen?
Yeah, I've been to a couple of them. Yeah.
Yeah, the only one I ever took part with was the one where Payne House was part of it. So that's been a while. And they took people out by bus to the cranberry bogs, and I think Patuxent Valley did that one, and it was pretty much centered in West Warwick, but they came out into Coventry a bit. But there's a lot in Coventry. I know a lot of people don't know it, but there's a lot in Coventry that we could share with others. not just the villages. And I talk the villages because that's how we grew up, but there's a lot more to the town that's beyond the villages. So I just wanted to mention that to get it on the table because I think it's something we should look into in possibly a couple years. And you know, go before council. Not right now, but as the idea comes or the time gets closer. It won't be right away anyway. They lost a year too. They were supposed to do Warwick last year. They're doing it this year. And then they're doing somewhere else. They'd like to try to do both sides of the bay. Anything? Any comments? Erin?
So, I guess I might have missed it. So the Rhode Island Preservation Commission is, I guess, the lead on that, and they pick a town in Rhode Island every
Yes.
year to do.
Yes.
So we would go and ask to be on the list for 2023 or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we see what their availability is. And then, of course, we have to go before council, obviously, to see, make sure the town is part of it. We hire, you know, whoever's on council at the time, is because it's a big undertaking. So we would have to stimulate the interest in the next couple of years to make sure we have the people that want to. It's all about community involvement. It's not just about preservation of history. It's about community involvement. You get the schools involved. I know kids need like community projects, and we could tie all that in to what we're trying to achieve. And if we're not ready in a couple of years, we do it. We put it off for, you know, it doesn't have to be in a couple of years. It's when we're ready. Now, these are just the things we've talked about. Nothing's written in stone at this point in time. The only thing of urgency is the Arkwright Bridge at this stage of the game. But these are the things that we've talked about, and working with historical societies. We've got one so far that we're going to work with, and we'll see what happens as far as the others are concerned. Anything, questions, comments? Are you still there, Paul? I think he's gone. No. Anyway, we can revisit all of this at the next meeting. I just wanted to do a general recap. And of course, we needed to move about the Arkwright Bridge, what we're going to do with it, and we can talk about it more the next meeting. We've got a little bit of work to do. Paul's going to look at the pink granite. Maureen's going to look at RIDOT signs, and we can do a presentation about the bridge. I mean, we've done it once. We can do it again. I mean, the presentation's been made. We can just do it again. It just needs to be tweaked a little bit. Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you, Norma, for the update. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I mean, there were other things too, but I don't want to throw too much at you at the your first experience. I don't want to scare everybody off. I mean, there are other things to discuss. But anyway, I thought this was good for tonight. So if we're okay, anyone want to make a motion to?
I have a question.
Okay.
First.
Yeah, okay.
So I mentioned at the beginning that I'm new to Coventry, and I
Right.
don't have, I guess I don't have a good working knowledge of everything that's
Right.
historical in Coventry. You, I guess, do you have a list, or do you have a recommendation where I can go and start researching all of the stuff to get up to speed faster?
If you want, someday I can take you around town and just point some things out to give you a starting point,
That'd be good.
okay? I work from 9 to 4 during the week, so it would probably have to be weekend, or well, the days are getting longer, but you know, I don't know what your schedule's like. I mean, we don't have to
Yeah.
decide that right now either, but yeah, the only way is, I mean, something else I didn't put on the agenda is the Black Rock. I mean, these are all important things. That we should focus on.
Okay, so also I'm new to this whole official meeting stuff. Am I allowed to contact you outside the meeting? Like we can meet outside the
One-on-one,
meeting
yes.
and talk about stuff, or are we only allowed
one-on-one.
to discuss
You
when we're
can't
recording?
have more than 3 without promoting it as an open meeting, from what I understand. So if, say, 3 of us got together, we would have to publish, is this right, Michelle?
Yes, yes.
We would have to publish it as, post it as an open meeting if 3 of us got together in the same place.
Okay,
But if it's just 2, you don't have to,
okay,
okay? I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs about this meeting rules, but that one I know.
okay.
Okay,
All right, so it's okay if I contact you through email and we set up a time to go driving around Coventry?
right,
Okay, excellent.
okay. So, does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
I
Everybody okay? I didn't scare anybody off? Okay? Okay. I mean, there's a lot we can do. It's not all written in stone, but there's a lot we can do. There's a lot here.
thank you. Thank you, Norma.
You're welcome.
Okay, yep, thank
And
you.